All right, back at it. Unfortunately, I had to shut down my computer because, of course, it's always how it works. But so back at it, continuing right into the second stage, according to Sigmund Freud, for psychosexual development. Again, we already talked about the anal retentive kind of personality trait from Sigmund Freud. The idea there is, once again, within the anal stage that a child has kind of too much or too little, satisfaction from kind of that erogenous zone of kind of dealing with going to the bathroom. The child is almost too anxious to the point where they cannot go to use the restroom on the potty, if you will. They don't have that opportunity. Now, there's also an anal expulsive personality trait that can come from this. This is where a child is not able to control their bowels until later portions of this stage. That's where they're kind of getting over stimulated, if you will, during this stage. An anal expulsive personality type is a person who's generally a mess. They don't have things that are organized. The bedrooms are an absolute mess. Those are those types of people. So, again, talking about personality, but from the psychosexual stages of Sigmund Freud. Now we get into the phallic stage. According to Sigmund Freud, the phallic stage is in large part where children begin to gender identify. Gender identification is where, according to Sigmund Freud, little boys will look at kind of father figures in their lives and understand kind of where kind of that process of what becoming a man means. Same thing for little girls. Obviously, within our society today, there's different thoughts on that. We're just specifically talking about Sigmund Freud. Now, there's other things that go on during this stage as well from Sigmund Freud, and this is where it really gets uncomfortable, so maybe there is some benefit to teaching to a screen. According to Sigmund Freud, it is during the phallic stage that the Oedipus complex can occur. The Oedipus complex is where, according to Sigmund Freud, young boys between the ages of 3 and 6 may begin to feel feelings of sexual attraction to their mother, and because of that sexual attraction towards the mother, they may have feelings of hatred or envy towards the father. Yeah, you heard that right. There's nothing wrong with your speakers. That is the Oedipus complex. Obviously, Sigmund Freud named this for the Greek tragedy Oedipus Rex, where very literally within the course of that story, Oedipus does marry his mother after having killed his father. So, unbeknownst to him, but not an easy concept to talk about necessarily. But Freud did believe that because of this gender identification, there's such a strong kind of gravitation towards the mother as an object of sexual gratification that or sexual attraction that it causes those feelings of resentment towards the father. Now, Freud did not believe the opposite occurred for young females. Some of the neo-Freudians did believe that the Electra complex, as it came to be called, was the same thing, but in opposite. So young girls have sexual feelings towards the father, while being a little bit more resentful of the mother. Now, again, all of this, do we see kind of sexuality within these children in the way we would think? The answer to that question is no, of course not. But he did believe that there was this kind of drive for sure. So it's weird. So let's move on quickly. Stage 4, according to Sigmund Freud, isn't really a stage. He called this much more a period. But for us and for issues of simplicity, we'll call this latency period. So this is ages 6 to 12. This is where, according to Sigmund Freud, all sexual kind of drives are repressed completely within the unconscious. So that's where you start to see that energy, that libido energy being turned much more towards kind of friends or kind of youth activities, sports, or whatever else. He did believe that was this time period of kind of this staying away from sexual attraction towards others, instead driving that energy towards other things. Then, of course, this leads to then the genital stage, which is puberty on. The erogenous zone shifts to the genitals, which is straightforward. And then the idea behind Sigmund Freud is that we as humans are going to seek mature sexual relationships. Now, again, puberty is very young for mature sexual relationships and all that stuff, but that is, according to Sigmund Freud, what is being sought by people. So, going back through and kind of talking about the psychosexual stages overall. Again, what happens as we as children incorporate their parents' values societal values into our superegos, we try and utilize this identification concept. And that identification, especially within stage 3 of the gender identity within the phallic stage, that kind of drives that process. But a quick review also of all of the stages, that fixation concept that's really talked about a great deal. This fixation concept really is the heart of what you need to know out of these 5 stages. That kind of pleasure-seeking energy being focused at that area or erogenous zone can lead to personality faults or personality quirks as we age and get older. The oral gratification thing that we talked about, and of course, anal retentive and anal expulsive personality types. So that brings us to an end of our look at the psychosexual stages. If you go into the PowerPoint, there's a little bit more information within the folder under chapter 14. A little bit more information if you want to take that down. It's pretty straightforward. Okay. All right, so with that said, we'll go ahead and tackle the Neo-Freudians. What I'll say is, overall, the Neo-Freudians are simply the new Freudians, still holding a belief in the power of the unconscious, but a little bit different than to it, for sure. I will post on here under e-learning number 3 as well a quick reading for you for some of the Neo-Freudians, Alfred Adler and Karen Horney. I'll be talking in more detail Carl Jung in our next e-learning module. That will be on Monday. This will also be the end of the psychodynamic theories, and so you'll also have a quick college board kind of mash up questions just to be able to test yourself as well. So I do hope that you have a fantastic weekend. I do know one of the reasons why, one of the reasons why that I had to shut down my computer is because of the fact that I was checking that email that we just got from Tom Hernandez, which does mean we are closed at least through April 7th now. So again, I understand that kind of this world is, or these couple months have been crazy, not that much, I guess, but create some order out of your day, enjoy your family time, try and be active as much as you can, being safe and all that stuff too. But just little by little, we'll get through day by day. All right. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Bye, guys.